Hey, church. So I'm going to continue in Acts chapter 15. And if you recall from the previous devotional, we were talking about how some were trying to tell the new converts to Christianity that they had to follow the law of Moses. So there was a disagreement. Paul and Barnabas are going to Jerusalem to meet with the leaders of the church to bring a conclusion to the matter. So when they arrived in Jerusalem, Barnabas and Paul were welcomed by the whole church, including the apostles and elders. They reported everything God had done through them. But then some of the believers who belonged to the sect of the Pharisees stood up and insisted the Gentile converts must be circumcised and required to follow the law of Moses. Once you continue reading down through that chapter, you'll find the discussion that takes place. But I want to go all the way down to the conclusion of the matter as we find here James, who was the head of the church in Jerusalem, Jesus' brother. And this is what it says in verse 19. And so my judgment is that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God. Instead, we should write and tell them to abstain from eating food offered to idols, from sexual immorality, from eating the meat of strangled animals, and from consuming blood. That's it. So friends, in the entire Old Testament law, these are the things that the church council, through meeting together, assessing what God was doing, and what they felt like was required for us as non-Jews who are coming to faith in Jesus Christ and worshiping the one true God. This is what they said we needed to follow. Now, obviously, they're not saying you don't need to follow the teachings of Jesus. They're talking about the things that were specific to the law. And therefore, it is the call of God for you and I to follow the teachings of Jesus and not follow the teachings of the Old Testament law, but they are fulfilled as Christ clearly taught us in loving God and loving your neighbor as yourself. The whole law is based on this. And therefore, when we live for Jesus, we live in that context of that law, and we're not called to revisit and add to our salvation. It's very clear, and it's important that we understand the new covenant through Jesus Christ as his church. God bless you today.